Interesting. My prediction, would you coach football and what level? You know, honestly, I don't think I would coach football. I think it would be really interesting to be a scout. And that's actually something that I've talked to teams about and I've considered, just because for me, like when I analyze football, yes, I look at numbers, but I try to look at more so intangibles that don't always show up on a stat sheet. So, you know, if a guy comes from very humble beginnings, you know, that kind of explains a bit of his why and his want and his desire. Or, you know, some people just have that dog in them, you know, like you don't necessarily maybe go through the most traumatic things in your life, but there's just this like internal fire in you. So for me, it would probably be really interesting to work with teams as a scout and be able to analyze talent, not only from a statistical point of view, but also bringing in the elements of, you know, the emotional side, the mental side, you know, all these different elements that go in. Now, if I was a coach though, what kind of coach would I be? Coach Ross don't play. GM Ross doesn't play. I don't care if you're a superstar. You better work as hard as everybody else. You know, if you're a superstar, I expect you to do more. So I really would not like prima donnas. And it's funny because I was, I got an Earl Thomas question. It was like, how do you feel about Earl Thomas? What do you think? And my thing is, if a guy's heart is out of a situation, which clearly, if it's money related, if it's just his time in Seattle has ran his course, I'm kind of like, okay, deuces, like go do your thing, go be with the Cowboys. Now, obviously, it's easier said than done. Trades have to happen, but if somebody's heart isn't in it, I would much rather take the person who may be less talented and has heart than the person who's more talented and doesn't. Because to me, heart and ability will take you places that raw talent won't. Because sometimes, we all rest on our laurels a little bit. Who's this season's Cowboys or the Panthers? I really don't get what that means. Let's see. I'm going to go through some of these questions. NFL 2K will be better than Madden if it comes back. How will Wentz do? I feel like Wentz will do good. It's a lot to ask a guy to come back from ACL and win the MVP. Obviously, Adrian Peterson did it. But this is my thing with Wentz. And I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. I feel that sometimes the NFL and the powers that be, there's certain players that they just kind of elevate and they kind of push it on us a little bit. And I feel like that with Carson Wentz. I know he's a super talented player. I am not taking anything away from him. But I feel like I want to just let him develop organically. I don't want to every day I hear like Carson Wentz, he's amazing, he's this. And I'm like, yes, he is all those things. But he also got hurt, and we also don't know how he would have done under playoff pressure. So let's just hold our horses a little bit before we crown him the next GOAT of the NFL. So that's my only thing. Do you think the refs cheat for the Patriots? I don't necessarily think the refs cheat for the Patriots. I do believe refs give certain players they respect more, certain calls, aka if you touch Tom Brady after a play is over, I think you're getting a penalty. If you touch Cam after a play is over, and Cam, tends to complain about a lot of plays, I don't think they might be as quick to call that. So I don't necessarily think it's a Patriot thing. I really do, and it's unfortunate, but I do think it depends on the player. What do you think about the Ravens quarterback situation? It's going to be interesting because, in the NFL, and like most sports, you kind of have a window of opportunity to have a championship type team. So the Ravens, they obviously won their Super Bowl, kind of had some flux, up and down years. Now it kind of seems like, okay, this window of really making a push with this group, with this defense, offense, it's like kind of getting narrow and narrow. So if Joe Flacco comes out and he's 1-3, and you got Lamar Jackson back there, and the crowds, people want the new shiny toy. They want to see something different. So if they start calling for Lamar, what are you going to do? Are you going to put Lamar in? And then if Lamar does well, then, I don't know. It's a tough situation. It's a similar thing with the Browns. People say, well, why don't you just start Baker? Because if you start Baker and he does bad and you pull him, that breaks his confidence. But if you don't start him and you let Tyrod, so if Tyrod goes in and they start off 1-3, 2-2, that's obviously a drastic improvement from last year. So you can make the argument that